class. So hello everybody at home. Welcome to the day before the exam. B-Day students, second hour, are with us today. They all look super excited. I can see their faces. Brian is especially excited over here. So some of you guys had some questions about the test, and I want to be able to offer you some time to be able to ask any questions that you have regarding logistics of the test or anything like that. As you know, your test is this Friday. So what do you have for me? Jackson, you had a question.
Yeah, I just asked if it was like all gonna like mostly vocab or like
It's all vocab, but some of it is application of the vocab, and some of it is lower level where it'd be just definitions of the
is
vocab.
it mostly multiple choice or like all multiple choice?
Yep, 100% multiple choice, 61 questions. Your first essay will be this next chapter. Yes, Lily.
So for the multiple choice, is it going to be like a Scantron or?
Yep, Scantron. Other questions? I had somebody ask me yesterday, how would you recommend studying for this? And honestly, that is a very difficult question that I cannot answer because every single one of you has a different, I'm assuming, study style. Like what works for you might not work for somebody else. One thing I would tell you all to do is to take a look at in your packet under that first page. It gives you the diagnostic with how many questions are on each learning target. If you see any holes in your learning for that particular learning target, I would definitely go back, revisit the book on that particular area, revisit your notes, ask me some questions if you have any. You know, you can do it via email. But one thing you should not be doing, anyone in any class ever, is the day before a test, rereading the entire chapter. That is the absolute biggest waste of your time and not good effective studying at all. So don't do that. Yep.
Is there gonna be any names we have to know, like
Mhm.
with those names?
Yep, there are names, yes, for sure. The review book that you guys all have, that's a great little study tool. One of the biggest mistakes I see students making every chapter, especially kids that have not taken previous honors or AP classes, is they come in a little bit overconfident, and overconfidence is one of your vocab terms for this chapter. And overconfidence is exactly as it sounds. You go home, you read your chapter, you look it over, you look at your notes, and then you slam your book shut and you say, I'm good to go. I know it. But do you really know it? And if you tested yourself to know it? So at the end of the review book, each chapter has like a practice quiz. Try that out. It's 10 to 15 questions. Do you know those answers? If you get it wrong, look and see why you got it wrong. So not just going over your notes and then flipping your notebook shut, but making sure you actually know the knowledge that you need, that you can test on it. You're going to have the whole class period to do it. You guys have a shorter class period on Friday. So if anybody needs a little bit more time after the bell rings, I'll write you a pass to get into your next period late. Everybody will be asked to turn in your phones when you walk in the door, and then you pick up your phones when the bell rings. So even if you are a speedy, fast test taker, you can't have your phone until the bell rings. So you probably aren't going to have a whole heck of a lot of time just because you guys are in the shorter day. I'm trying to think of something else. Yeah.
Do we like get numbers instead of writing our names on tests?
So the numbers you get are for our essays. Yes. So we will do that for a second chapter. Any other questions? All right. Well, make sure if you guys do along the way, not afraid to ask me. Yesterday, we went over ethics, morality, and psychology. What I would like you guys to do now is take your marker and write the 6 ethical principles out without looking any answers up in your book. So kind of just digging into your memory bank a little bit here. What were those 6 ethical principles? If I were to run a research project and I needed to get it approved, these are the principles that need to be followed to make sure that you can get the project approved. We're talking about the 6 ethical principles we went over yesterday. So go ahead, and what we're doing, Jada, is writing them on our desk. So people at home, this is a good time for you to review what we talked about yesterday. Can you name them without looking? All right, so take a moment, your side of the room, chat with each other, think if you can think of anything you guys add to your list. Some of you have nothing on your desk, some of you just have a couple things, but everybody start adding to your desk, please.
I got debriefing and coercion.
So Alexa, share with everybody.
Testing risk, coercion, and informed consent.
That's the first one, isn't it?
It
Well,
is.
I could think of
Yep.
it, I couldn't
Yep.
put it in words.
Yeah, I can remember the names, but I couldn't give examples of them.
So it looks like this side is struggling a bit. Jackson, can you read yours out loud to everybody? You guys get your marker out, you're gonna write them down.
Alright, so I got debriefing, coercion, risk, and informed consent.
And there are 6 total, so we're missing 2. Does anyone have anything that was not listed? Do you guys need him to repeat?
Debriefing, coercion, risk, and informed consent.
So I heard somebody yesterday say to me, or they weren't talking to me, but I overheard them talking in class. And they said, I really like this class because there isn't any homework. And it stopped me. And I thought, okay, if any of you are taking the approach, which it's pretty obvious that some of you are because you had no idea what to write down. There's homework every single day in this class. Every day. And before you know it, things are going to get out of control as far as the amount of work that's just going to pile up. How much homework do I grade? Hardly any. So what is your grade on? Your test. You are responsible for making sure you watch the videos and you read every single night. So even though I'm not grading your homework, that doesn't mean you have no homework because you're going to fall behind very quickly. So there are 2 we're missing. Risk, did you say? You said risk. Informed consent, debriefing. Deception, did you say that one? Did you say confidentiality, Jackson? And then confidentiality. So you need to know those. Those are the 6 ethical principles. Now at the end of the day, I said to them, and I had a scale on the board, and I said the most important thing is you have to weigh this versus this. Write that down. What are we weighing? And one of the words is listed there. Don't say it out loud, just write it down. So on this hand of the scale, you want to have this, and that's one of your words. And then on this hand, you want to make sure that this is not tipping in the incorrect direction. So what is it that I was talking about that you are weighing? And then last but not least, circle the one that only applies to animals. Only one of those 6 will apply to animals. Even if you didn't do your homework, you should be able to narrow that thing down based on the fact that animals cannot speak, cannot comprehend what we're talking about. So Alexa, what are we weighing?
I have like the game versus the risk.
Risk should be on one side for sure, yes. So how impactful are those risks? How impactful are the risks on humans and how impactful are they on animals? That should be on one side. The other side should be gains or benefits. Either word would work. So do we want our risk really high and our benefits low? Absolutely not. You want to make sure the scale is a little bit more like this. My gains are high, but my risk to humans or animals is fairly low. That's a quick review from yesterday. At the very end then, we took a look at different case studies, and we took a look at different animal case studies, and I asked the students, please, which case study behind Lily on that board is yours, basic or applied? That is a test question as well. And what the students found is basic is where you are doing research because you are piquing a theory or a hypothesis and you want to make sure you're just kind of curious about it. Maybe someday it will lead to where you can actually do further research and to solve some problems, but applied research is more practical. It's going to give you the solutions to things more immediately. So that's how we ended our day, and that was yesterday. So go ahead and take your eraser. You don't need to erase with your fingers, guys. I'll just pass this around and you can erase that. That is all located in your packet. Lily, if you don't mind jumping up and grabbing the eraser back there. And then go ahead and put your marker cap on and then stick it in between your name tags so it doesn't fall over for us. Today our goal is to talk about the various psychological careers. Just turn to the last page of your packet, please.
What was the one that told you for animals?
Risk. Thank you. So that's the only thing. Because an animal can't speak, can't debrief with an animal, but they still have the right for minimal amounts of risk. What I'm handing you right now is your next unit. This is just in case you're gone or something happens. These are our social psychology. This is our next unit. You will not need this until Monday at home and Tuesday in class. So
We're in class on Monday.
you guys are in class on Monday? Oh, so you won't need this until Monday. Thank you. I don't think I'll ever get it all straight. So you're going to need this on Monday. So you guys can just tuck that away. So the very last page of your packet talks about your most ideal career and your worst nightmare career. I want you to reflect a little bit about what you're thinking about potentially in your future. So I don't want you to fill out all the columns. So for time, we're going to keep it, we're going to slim it down. Pick one or two things you would love to do if money, if society, if social norms were not a factor. If you could pick anything to do for the rest of your life, what would it be? Now, you might not be able to identify a career name, but maybe you can identify, like, I had somebody last period that said, I would love to be doing some type of traveling. And so she wasn't sure what career would fall under that, but she knew that that would be something she'd be very much interested in. And then I want you to pick one nightmare career. One career that you think, oh my God, that would be terrible to do for the rest of my life. Like for me, my nightmare career would be working like our IT guy in a cubicle where you never see anybody or have any contact with other humans and you're only working on computers all day. I would not do well in a situation like that. So give us one ideal career and then one nightmare career. Once you do that, go ahead and put skills that are needed for each of those career choices down. Not education. So we're not talking you need a 4-year degree or a high school degree. What skills? So if I was to use teaching as my example, I would say the skills needed to be a teacher. Organized, out of the box thinking. I need to be somebody that's fairly patient. I also need to be flexible because you have a lot of students with different needs as well as schedules that come up. I need to be a fairly good communicator. And then go ahead and do that for your nightmare career too. Like, what skills would you need to have in order to do that nightmare career? I probably left you too much room to write. I feel like you have to fill in the entire box there. And then finally, go ahead and fill out what psychological skills, what things do you feel like can be related to the psych aspect of the nightmare or the dream career? You're on the last page. So go ahead and share with your elbow partners, anybody that's near you, your dream career and your nightmare career. Go ahead. Jada and Sophie, probably just chat from there. Say hi to everybody. All right, guys. So let's just do a quick chat about this. One of the things that I want you to understand, well, I don't need you to understand this, but I'm just going to tell you this. Personally, I have a huge problem with our educational system, not just high school, but college, where students leave the high school setting, and the number one question you're going to get this year at the end of the year is where you're going to college and what are you majoring in. And I have worked with young 18-year-olds for 14 years now who are, most of them, on a 4-year plan for college, and you can see the frustration, the anxiety, the stress level just mounting in those kids. I don't know what I want to do at the age of 18. It's very difficult to choose my career. Now, there's a very rare amount of you throughout the building that will say, I have an idea, I have a plan, and I want to do that, and you'll follow through with it. But I can tell you this, you guys are the rare ones. Most people don't know. And the reason why you don't know is because we here in the secondary educational field, and I will say this to any administrator, do not give you all a really good idea of what's out there beyond the confines of these walls. We stick to PowerPoints, to the curriculum in a textbook, to here, let's do this handout, which is exactly what I'm doing. But what you should be doing when you're starting to figure out what do I want to do for the rest of my life is get out there in those fields and say, I'm kind of interested in health, I'm not sure, what does this look like? And then the other problem we have is you get restricted to what your parents did, to what's your bubble. You know, like, what did you grow up with? If you grew up with farming family or a doctor in your family, you know, that's kind of what you're used to. And then we're restricted to Iowa. I will even restrict us here, because the jobs available in Iowa are the jobs you all grew up with. But there are many jobs that are available that we don't have in this state, that are outside the state, that some of you might find very, very interesting. So there's a lot going on. And then you go to college and you pay a lot of money, and then you leave college and you're like, I don't think I want to do this. I don't think I want to do this for the rest of my life. And that happens over and over and over again. I'm hoping that by doing something like this today, we can make more of a connection as the year goes on. You're not going to make those psych connections today, but would anybody care to share what your nightmare job is? That's a little safer one. What is yours, Jackson? I thought I heard teaching.
Oh yeah, I said teacher.
Yeah, I was like, I think he said teaching.
I also said teacher.
Teaching, very difficult. Yeah, like dealing with kids and being all those things that I just said. How about your most dream job? What do you got, Jada?
I said a marine biologist.
Okay, so something in the field of biology, working in water, whether it's the traditional marine biologist or something within that. Okay, how can we relate this to psychology? There's the connection. Nobody ever told me when I was your age and I was thinking about going into teaching, there's a lot of psychology in here. Think about your teachers that you've had through the years. Think about how many of them struggle reading facial expressions or understanding empathy. That's a big psychological skill that we actually learn. Think about the field of marine biology. How is that psychology? When we get to our unit called behaviorism is, here's a treat, will you reward them for that treat? That type of thing. A lot of marine biologists use that philosophy when they get into that field. What I'm trying to say is whatever you wrote down, I'm hoping throughout the year you can find a connection. Not that you're going to major in psych. Most of my students don't major in psych, but that you can see how expansive this field is and how it connects to just about everything in the world. So let's see what you guys did with your reading last night. You can tuck that stuff off to the side. Everybody grab an envelope on your side. Pens, you could just pass those around. There are 8 highlighted terms. Put them on one side of your desk. And then there are 8 non-highlighted terms that you're going to individually match those up. These are your notes for Learning Target 8. Identify the various psychological careers. These are the careers you're going to need to know for your test tomorrow. You were supposed to read the appendix. Even if you didn't have an opportunity to read the appendix, I'm hoping through process of elimination, you can see and match up what term goes with what explanation. So everything we do is like a checking for understanding. Do I know what a developmental psychologist does? Do I know what a social psychologist does? How about a forensic? Sports psychologist, fairly easy, that one's kind of a giveaway. Clinical psychologist. There should be 8, Lily, of each. Fall on the ground. If not, I can fill in the blank for you. Let's give this a shot and see where we're at. Do you have that one? You already have that one. We'll see which one you're missing as we go through now. I'll take it back. Thanks. All right, guys. Jada, which one is a clinical psychologist?
Oh, I didn't know this one. I guess.
Give us a guess. It's okay to get it wrong.
I guess the study of how mostly children mature and develop.
Yeah, no, that's not right.
Yeah,
And you
I
know
didn't
what?
think
Last
so.
period, the first person I asked on that one got it wrong too. So that one maybe we'll come back to later. Okay, does anyone think they have a clinical psychologist answer? What did you put, Ken's?
The treatment of mental disorders using talk, insight therapy, and serves of depression, OCD.
Addictions usually without drugs. Yes, that's correct. So if you guys were happen to go see a therapist, most of us would see a psychologist. And what is the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist? That's a really easy test question. So Jackson, I think it was you or maybe it was somebody else. What type of questions? That would be considered like a low-level test question. So what's the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist? Psychiatrist, Adam?
They're doctors, they went to the medical school.
And what can they do that a psychologist cannot do?
They treat disorders like depression, schizophrenia with drugs.
Drugs. So the key component is one's without drugs and one is with drugs. They can't, a psychologist cannot prescribe drugs. Medicine is what we're looking at. I was thinking years ago, a student, I was like, what is it if you look at that word psychiatrist that can help you remember drugs are involved in that word so you don't get it mixed up? And now I cannot recall what they said. Does anybody have one? It has 2 T's. Totally toasted. You're totally toasted if you have a psychiatrist because you can have drugs. Okay, that's supposed to be kind of funny, but that's how my silly brain works. I.O. Brian, what's that? An I.O. psychologist.
Oh, I said they work for large corporations to analyze morale, worker effectiveness.
Yep, they work in the workplace. Anybody in here, and you don't have to answer this, but if anybody's interested in being an engineer someday or thinking about the field of engineering, you will definitely have to take an I.O. psychology class. So these people work for major corporations where you get hired, and your job is to try to get the company to make more money by making sure that the workplace is running effectively. Also, I.O. psychologists would work for maybe a city. If you think about, there are different ways things are designed, and some of it makes sense. If you've ever been in a car, or if you've ever gone down a road where you're like, why do they have this turn lane right here? This doesn't make any sense. This is like a high traffic area. I think the mall parking lot is crazy how they designed it when they redesigned the mall parking lot. It doesn't make sense to me. The flow just doesn't. Hi.
How you doing?
Looks like you visited the coffee bar today.
Yeah, I had to try it out.
Yummy. Yep, good. Sports psychologist was the easiest one. What do you have, Miss Sophie?
Sports psychologists.
Mhm.
They work for sports teams or individuals to maximize performance on the field.
Yep. And that's a great example of somebody going into the field of sports that sometimes you hear people like, you know what, I'm an athlete, I'm interested in sports, but I know I'm not good enough to play at the collegiate or the professional level. So what are my choices? People narrow their choices. They think athletic training, they think sports management. Those are the 2 big ones. But people tend to forget about sports psychology. How much psychology is involved with athletics? A ton. If you've ever played sports in your life, you know there are mental blocks that we have. There are things sometimes where you're like, I know I can do this, but then something got in my way, and it's getting in my way up here, not because of physical limitations. My son, when he was training out in Boston, he and his training crew, there was a sports psychologist that came in and chatted with them. And of course, that's Boston. We don't have a lot of specialized sports psychologists here in our little town of Dubuque, but it's definitely a field of interest. A counselor. What do we got? Alexa.
They use talk therapy to treat mild depression and anxiety, and they help families or couples communicate with each other.
Yeah, so make sure the key with counselor, just think about your school counselor. They're in an academic setting. They're definitely more in the academia field. You'll have counselors that can help you at the college level too. Social psychologist. Back to you, Jackson.
Is it the study of how individuals act differently in groups than they would alone?
Yes, the key there, you guys, is the word group. So social psychologists always associate with groups. We're not concerned about the individual as much as we are. So if I'm a social psychologist and I'm doing a study on conformity, I want to know what's going to happen with the group situation. I just got to check this. People at home are going to say, you went off volume. There we go. A developmental psychologist, Lily.
The study found most children need mature and develop.
Or don't. And the one thing I don't like about that definition, you guys, is it sounds like it's just for kids. But a developmental psychologist, actually, how I describe it, is from womb to tomb. It's from birth to the end of your life. So even if you worked in like a nursing home or you worked with the elderly population in Florida that's very active, I'm just throwing stuff out there, you potentially would have some background information and developmental. Forensic psych is the easy one, study of criminal behavior. How did you do? Flip them, take a quick picture of them. That'll be your study tool if you need it. You don't have to, but those are your notes for that particular learning target. I'm going to see if I can actually get a photo of one of yours. I don't know if I can. All right. Okay, bear with me at home, people. Hold it. You hold it. Can we tilt it? Up here. Down. I think I need to go down. Now over. And down. Now over this way. Up, higher, tilt. And then go this way more. Keep going. Keep going. And then down toward your chest. And then over that way more. I have no idea if they got it at home, but shot, didn't we, guys? If you were confused at all, just make sure you look up those terms. Okay, you guys can scramble those back up. Don't lose any. Lily, which one were you missing?
Forensics, but I found it behind.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. So go ahead and just scramble those back up. Put them back in the envelope. And what I would like us to do now is, I gotta watch my time. Oh, crud. We are out of time. I was gonna do something else. Last period, it kind of ran into the same situation. I asked, did anybody have any last minute questions about anything regarding content? If you take a quick look at your handouts that you received, any words from your vocab charts, anything that you want to have me give you an answer to or go over again.
Oh, yeah.
What do you got, Alexa? Just a second, Jackson.
Could I just get like an example of the inferential statistics and the descriptive statistics?
Okay, so for descriptive stats, what did you put down for your...
Or I had that it like describes data.
Okay, so then I would just put down like the mean, median, and mode. That's your example. So that would be something that describes data. And then for inferential stats, I would put down the term statistical significance. Because that's what's going to, how you're going to infer if it is a valuable study or not. Jackson, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you said this once, but I didn't write it down. What's the Gestalt site for that?
Gestalt is how you pronounce it. Gestalt psychology is something we're going to go over much later, but in the short version, it's study of how do I want to say this? How the whole picture fits together. So instead of just looking at like a little piece of the puzzle, we're going to look at the entire picture. So a popular saying of Gestalt psychology, you could use this as an example, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. It's a very popular saying, it's been around for a long time. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts with Gestalt psychology. Jada, you had a question too.
I didn't have a question about like this, like anything. I have a question about the test.
Yep.
What's it gonna like look like?
Multiple choice, 61 questions. Some low level, like definition based,
Yeah.
some application.
Okay.
Next, this is your chance, filling it out. We're doing it right here. Brian, you got one? You know? Adam? You have to have the first 3 columns filled out or you do not receive full credit. So is anybody struggling with an example for anything? No? Yes.
I just have a question about like the important people. Because I know you said like not there's is there like a lot of that people?
So Wilhelm Wundt, it looks like William Wundt. Wilhelm Wundt. Do you have him? Be on the front page where I typed it,
Yeah.
right? And I think I had you circle him. Did I have you circle somebody else on the top of that page where I typed? Is William James on the top of that?
Yeah.
Okay, he's another one I would circle or highlight. Sigmund Freud, B.F. Skinner. So psychoanalysis, behaviorism. So now I'm talking about the hand. Those are some big ones.
But for like theory hypothesis.
No names. No
Okay,
names.
so is it just like the hand and then like the feet on the front?
Yes, yes, that's correct. Good clarifying point.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Somebody last period wanted to know about, they just needed more clarification behind Lily is the normal distribution curve up there. Remember what we talked about in class for that. You guys were not here that day when we did that. That normal distribution curve that we are talking about, you need to memorize the actual, oh, why does this do this? So sorry. Yep, so
What are like, you said something about like the horizontal numbers, like what are those?
So over here, the percentages 68, 95, and 99 need to be memorized. When you chunk those out, half of 68 is 34. So because this is a normal distribution, it's symmetrical. So everything that happens on this side is this side. So half of 68 is 34. And then 34 over here. And then what's left after that to get up to 95 would be 14 and 14. So if you added 34, 34, 14, and 14, you'd get 95%. The percentages of what you need to memorize. Standard deviations are how far it is away from the mean. So if I throw you a question tomorrow and say, your mean is 6, you would put the mean right in the middle. And then I would tell you, your standard deviation in this case is 2. You're going to go up by 2 and down by 2. You're going to be able to have scrap paper and you can actually just fill it out. And then you would have some type of question that says, like this, what percent of people fall between 2 and 6? 2 and 6 points. And you would need to know your percentages to add those up, right? Because it's half, 34 and 14 is your answer, so it'd be 48, right? 48 from here to here. So if you know your percentages, you can really mathematically do anything. Give me more questions about this. 'Cause I don't think you guys were in school the day we went over this.
So when you said like up and down too, like what are those numbers on the bottom?
Here,
Not the percentages, the other numbers.
blue
Yeah.
or the black?
I don't know what they call it, it's pretty far, but like just the ones that are like on each line. Like, what
Okay,
are
come
those
closer. Anybody can come closer, you're fine, if you wanna see this up close. You can also take a picture of this if
Like
anybody
the
wants
plus,
to.
I don't know, it says plus 250,
Okay,
yeah,
here?
yeah.
Okay, so this says minus S2 SD, minus 1 SD.
Like are those already gonna be there?
Those,
Or do
no,
change?
they will not be there, but these never change. Those black numbers at the bottom always stay the same. So what this is saying is that first line here is 1 standard deviation away, going down from the mean. This is 1 standard deviation coming up from the mean. This is 2 standard deviations below the mean, 2 standard deviations above the mean. So those black standard deviation marks never change, and they're not there, so you just need to know them. So it's pretty easy, you just go from the mean, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, plus 1, plus 2, plus 3. And then that's helpful too. Give me another question. Did you have an opportunity to answer that one checking for understanding page? You have it out handy. Might be a good opportunity because you guys weren't in school. It looks like I'm trying to go quick. It looks like this. It's pink. And it looks like this. So it's like the very last pink sheet. So if we look at that, 68% of the scores on the final exam, so it's telling you the mean is 80. Where am I going to put that mean? In the middle. My standard deviation is 5. So 1 standard deviation up from 80 is 85. 2 standard deviations up is, are you following me, guys? So I know you weren't in school, so I'm just trying to help you a little bit here. So that's our normal bell-shaped curve. If we draw our lines like this, my mean is going right down the middle, that's 80. Standard deviations are 5, so we're going to go up by increments of 5. This is what I do on every single test when I'm trying to figure out the answer to these problems. I just do this on scrap paper because it's easy for me to be able to remember. Okay, we charted her out, right? Now we're going to go, how many standard deviations? This is minus 1, minus 2, plus 1, plus 2. You could even go out to 3 standard deviations. So this is your standard deviation, right? That's your mean. And then minus 3. Now what's the question ask? What's number 1 ask? If somebody could just read it to me.
68% of the scores on the final exam would fall between like.
Okay, so we know 68% of the scores are going to go from where to where?
Minus 1 and plus 1.
-1 to +1. Thank you. 68%. This green marker is what you have to memorize. Okay? The orange you memorize, which is super easy to remember. The blue will always change. Those are the numbers that will be given to you that you have to plug in. So 68% goes from here to here. So it's saying 68% of the population falls between 75 and 85. Those are your scores. Following me? Good time to ask quick questions. And then from -2 to +2, what percent of the population goes there? 95. What's the next question ask?
The student scores within 2 standard deviations from the mean, what is the possible range of student scores?
And so our answer is? Yeah. How are we doing? Feeling a little bit better? There's your 5-minute stat lesson. That was very quick. Make sure you read through that again. Hopefully that'll make sense to you. You guys have a lovely day. We'll see you tomorrow. No, I'll see you Friday. I'll never get it straight. Oh, wait. Adam, Jada, Kent. Sorry. Some of you got away from me. It's just for your cap and gown. Bye, everybody at home. I'm going to try to talk to technology again regarding the microphone shutting down. I never heard back from them. So good luck, study hard, and make sure you email me with any questions you have. Sign off. What's up?
Do you have any free periods at all during the day?
I have third hour free.
And a lot of it, and I failed.
Oh, okay. So what made you decide to take AP?
My mom.
Okay. Yeah, third hour is my only free hour.
Okay.
And I would be definitely willing to